Hello YouTube, and welcome to this little video. I'm not actually showing anything today, I'm just talking because today is Monday, February 22nd, 2016, and today is the first day of the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona in Spain. And I'm not there. Obviously I'm not there, I'm at home in my usual spot. And that's because I only have 92 followers on my YouTube channel, so I'm not, famous enough to actually get to go to Barcelona, which would have been nice, but hey, I'm not really complaining. But I wanted to talk a bit about the stuff that we actually seen coming out of MWC so far this year. It kickstarted yesterday, one day early actually, with big announcements from Samsung and LG. And those announcements were not very surprising because most of the stuff was already known, but still pretty interesting. So let's start with Samsung. Samsung announced and released their new flagship phone, the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, and here they are. As you can see, actually I'm just joking, that's not the S7, that's the S6 from last year, but you'd be hard pushed to actually see any difference except for the color. They look very much like the previous models. These are the S7 and the S7 Edge. And as you can see, they have pretty much the same specs. You got a Snapdragon 820 processor, a 530 GPU, Adreno 530 GPU. You got 32 or 64 gigabytes of storage, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 5.1 inch screen on the S7 and 5.5 inch on the S7 Edge. And pretty much the only thing that's the difference between these two is the battery size, which is slightly bigger on the Edge, and also the screen size, which is slightly bigger on the Edge. So basically very much the same as last year, but there are a couple of things that are new, which is makes these phones interesting. And one thing is that they actually have water cooling system inside them, which I find very interesting. It sounds like a bit of an overkill, but maybe you actually need that for that new Snapdragon 820 processor. I don't know, but that's what they say. Also in the Galaxy S7 you get this pretty cool recording thing. You get a special gaming menu, so when you start to play a game you can actually record what's happening on the screen, and you can also simultaneously record yourself while playing. So you can do kind of a PewDiePie wannabe thing on mobile phones, which is something that I will not use, but I can see that that would be an interesting thing. And it's really cool to see that Samsung is trying to reinvent itself and come up with new things and new ideas. So that's cool. Another thing that seems to be really good about the new Samsung phones is the camera, which the S6 cameras was really one of the best cameras out there, and this one seems to be even better. It's got a 1.7 aperture lens, which means that it's going to be really good at low light performance. The resolution is a bit low. It's only 12 megapixel for the main camera and 5 megapixel for the front camera, but still, with the low light performance like that, it's gonna be a really good camera, and the software for Samsung cameras is already pretty good. So I'm thinking that is possibly the main selling point for me, that camera. If you already have a Samsung Galaxy S6 or S6 Edge, you might not feel that the upgrade is actually worth the money. Here in Sweden you can already pre-order the S7, and it's quite expensive. The S7 is listed for 7,290 Swedish kronor, and the S7 Edge is 8,290 Swedish kronor off contract, obviously. And that is something around $730 US, $830 US respectively, and 730, 830 euros. That's a lot of money, and compared to what you get in what you have if you have the S6 or S6 Edge, that's a lot of money to spend for just a little bit better phone. Probably not worth the upgrade. If you have some older phone or some other phone completely entirely, the S7 actually looks like a pretty cool package, and you might take a look at that, but it is expensive, definitely. So the other thing that happened yesterday was that LG presented their new flagship phone called the LG G5, which looks like this. Now, if you look at the specifications, they are very much like the Samsung specification. You got a same system on a chip, you got the same graphics processor, you got the same amount of storage, the same amount of RAM. So very much alike. The screen, however, is 5.3 inch, so it's kind of between the S7 and the S7 Edge. It's Quad HD, the same as the Galaxies. But that's kind of where the likeness stops. LG is doing something new this year. I mean, you had the LG G3 phone that was very popular and people thought that was very nice, and then the LG G4 kind of continued on the same design language, looked very much the same, but it had that leather back, and people were kind of disappointed with the performance of the G4. And now, of course, the LG then released the V10, which is a bigger phablet phone with a very good camera, and then completely different packaging. Was this ruggedized rubber backside. Now LG G5 is all metal, with the metal body and glass. It's also shrunk a bit from 5.5 inches for the G4 to 5.3 for the G5. The volume controls has moved from the back to the side of the phone, which I think is nice. The on and off button, power button, is still on the back, but it now has a very nice fingerprint scanner. And design wise, the LG G5 kind of looks like a lot of other phones when you first look at it. It's not really exciting, looks nice, and the people say that it feels nice to have it in the hand with round edges and stuff like that. But it has a couple of things that really makes it stand out. It has an always on screen, which means that it will never go completely black. It will always show, time messages, stuff like that. Which is also true for the Samsung phones, actually. I forgot to say that, but they also have always on mode. And they also, for the LG, have two rear cameras. For the V10 you had two front-facing cameras, and that was quite popular. You had one normal field of view, and then you had a wide-angle camera for the selfies, where you wanted to have a lot of people in the photo. And now they kind of did that, but on the other side. So you have a 16 megapixel main camera on the back, and then you have an 8 megapixel wide field of view camera, 135 degrees field of view, which is very wide. The main camera is pretty fast. It's got a aperture of 1.8, which is not as fast as the Samsung camera, but still very good. I'm really looking forward to seeing results of tests of the cameras for the LG G5. But still, with dual camera and this always on and new design, that's not the biggest news for the LG. No, LG has also tried to completely reinvent what a phone is and how you're going to use it by having this expandable magic port thing, and you can actually take the bottom off if you hold the phone like this, like you normally do, you can take the bottom off, bottom centimeter or so off, and that will remove the battery. So even if it's a metal body, you can still remove and replace the battery, which is nice. You also have a micro SD card, obviously, but that's not all. You can also, using this, replace that bottom bit with a couple of different companion devices or extensions, if you like. And one of them is a camera grip handle, which gives you dedicated buttons for taking photos and filming, and also a wheel for zooming. It also adds 40% to the battery, and that's kind of lame. If I did that, I would probably try to come up with some cooler functions to add to that photo grip. I'm sure they will eventually, though, because can you imagine you could have buttons for setting ISO and doing various settings for aperture first or time first or whatever, or full manual, and you could have all these wheels and buttons and knobs on that. That would be great, and perhaps there will be such an extension eventually. The other extension they have is a 32-bit high quality digital audio converter. So if you're an audiophile and you really want to be able to listen to those FLAC files on your phone with your headphones that are going to cost probably more than the phone, you can just get that little extension and you get new world of audio quality. And even though those two things are very interesting, the really interesting thing here is if LG manages to get other people interested in making extensions like that, then we could see a host of new features and new stuff being added. They should, I don't know if they will, but they should make the specifications for those extensions free. Open source, just let anyone pick it up and make stuff. And if they do, there could be a whole new way of interacting with your phone, and you get all kinds of really cool add-ons and gadgets and extensions and stuff for your phone. So I hope they do that. But that's not the end of the LG presentation. They also had a couple of LG Friends devices. They had a robot wheel ball kind of thing that you could remote control with your phone, which had a camera on it. I don't know why you want one of those. They said it's for technically look at your pet or something. I don't know. They also had a 360-degree camera that you can buy, and you can take photos and film stuff in 360 degrees all around, which may seem a bit weird, but when you consider that they also introduced a head-mounted display for virtual reality things, it kind of makes sense. And the head-mounted display is actually quite interesting, more interesting than the ball and the camera, because it uses the phone as the driver, so it has a separated screens in the display, which makes it very light and possibly cheaper. Possibly not cheaper, but at least much lighter and easier to carry around than, for instance, the Gear virtual reality that you have for the Galaxy phones. And also the LG G5 has a Type-C USB connector, so there's a lot of potential to connect it to, you know, external monitors and doing interesting things with it. And also, you know, it will interact very well with the head-mounted display. So LG, wow, they are really turning it up to 11 on all channels. The G5 will not sell as well as the Samsung Galaxy S7, but it is a much more interesting phone and a lot more interesting concepts and ideas coming to light in the LG presentation. I can only hope that they get some kind of traction and people actually start buying all those things and show their appreciation instead of just buying the same old boring Samsung phones or Apple phones or whatever. So that's my take on the presentations from Samsung and LG on Mobile World Congress 2016. This has been a very different video for me, so if you like it, please like it, write a comment, and maybe I will do more of these things where I'm actually not spending a lot of money buying stuff to show you, but just talking about the things that are happening in the world. So thank you very much, have a good day, and I hope to see you soon. I hope you see me soon or something. Bye!